To persuade means to convince. So when you are trying to persuade someone, it simply means that you are trying to convince that person. And then finally, we have another purpose, that is to argue, which means making your readers or audience respond to the information you are telling them. Okay? So a while ago, when you're just informing your readers, you're just giving them information. Then when you try to persuade them, you convince them to believe in what you believe. And then when you when you try to argue with them, it means that you want your readers to respond with you. Okay? Now, academic writing also requires formal language, or a word that does not contain colloquial or jargons. Okay? Jargon words. Many people, when they are trying to write essays or any academic text, they tend to use a lot of words which are difficult to understand to sound intelligent. Meaning, as people are writing, they would like to sound intelligent or smart. And to make themselves look smart in their writing, they use a lot of words which are so difficult to understand. But remember, if you're going to write any academic text, it is important that you do not use colloquial or jargon words. Meaning, these are words which are specific to a group of person. For example, words which are only used by doctors. So those are jargons. Words which are only used by police. Those are jargon terms. So do not use those kinds of words. You should use layman's term. That is why it says here, an academic text usually uses the layman's terms. Or, as defined here, these are the terms that are easy to understand. Okay? When you use a layman's term, you use an ordinary person's language. It is easy to understand, it is familiar to the audience or to the readers. Okay? When you're writing academic text, it avoids using highfalutin words. When we say highfalutin words, this is this is the antonym of layman's term. Meaning, if layman's term are ordinary words which are easy to understand, highfalutin words are deep words. Or in Tagalog, we call this malalim. Malalim na salita. Okay? So we should not use highfalutin words, but we should use layman's terms. Okay? So remember that when you're writing academic text follows certain rules and standards, because again, it's formal. Language to be used in writing academic text should be formal, again, because it is being used in schools. And audience should be first taken into consideration. What does that mean? It means that before you write your academic text, you should first think about who will be your audience. Who will be reading your text? Will they be students? Will they be elementary students? Will they be high school students? Or will they be the teachers? Because if they are elementary students, of course, you should lower the degree of your language. It is still formal, but the words you're going to use will be more ordinary. Okay? They will be more easy to understand. They will be easier to understand. Okay? And if you're writing a text for teachers, then it must be really formal, and then maybe you could already use some highfalutin words because the audience is already of higher maturity. Okay? All the information included in this kind of text should be backed up by valid evidences. So we have here four features of language, meaning these are four kind of like elements that we could use in writing academic text. The first one is formality. Formality reflects your dignified stance in writing as a member of an academic community. This means that in your writing, you should avoid colloquial words and expressions. Meaning to say, guys, when you're going to write any academic text, you should be formal. You should always try to achieve formality. Okay? You cannot use any jargons, any highfalutin words, any colloquial. But when we say colloquial, in Filipino, we call this balbal or vernacular language, which will be difficult for other people to understand. Okay? Okay, so formality can be achieved through the following ways. So these are the different ways for us to achieve formality in our writing. First is by choosing expanded modal forms over contracted forms. When we say contracted, guys, contracted means shortened, compressed. Example of compressed words are can't, don't. So, if you want to achieve formality, guys, you should not use those kinds of contracted words. Rather, you should use the complete the complete forms of the words. So instead of saying can't, you could put there cannot. Instead of writing don't, you should write do not. So that's one way of achieving formality. Another is by choosing one verb form over two word verbs, such as damage instead of mess up. So you should use damage and not mess up. So usually when we write in English or when you talk in English, we often use words with prepositional with prepositions. For example, going up, mess up, get up. So okay, or another is calm down. We usually use those kinds of preposition with our words. But in achieving formality, guys, you should avoid using those kinds of expressions. And then you choose the one verb form. Example here, instead of using mess up, you could use damage. Or instead of using calm down, you could use settle. So that's one way of achieving formality. Another way of achieving formality is choosing expanded terms over their abbreviated equivalents, such as soon as possible instead of ASAP. Many times when we write, we try to speed up our writing by using abbreviations. When we say abbreviations, these are terms which are shortened. For example, doctor. Instead of writing the whole doctor, we write DR period. So that's an example of an abbreviation. So if you want to achieve formality in writing, guys, as much as possible, avoid using abbreviations. Complete the words per se. Example, as soon as possible. Write as soon as possible and don't write ASAP. Okay? And then finally, one way to achieve formality in writing is avoiding colloquial or idiomatic expressions such as kind of like, as a matter of fact, or sort of. These colloquial expressions, or in Tagalog, as I have said a while ago, balbal or informal language, are not allowed to be used in academic writing. In Filipino, guys, these terms are like parang. So do not use those words or these words rather in your academic writing. Again, these are the four ways we can achieve formality in our academic writing. So here are some examples of one verb over two word verbs that I was saying a while ago. So instead of saying added up, maybe you could use calculate. So instead of saying James added up the number of attendees in his party, you could say James calculated the number of attendees in his party. Another example here is purchase. So the large company bought out the smaller ones. So instead of saying bought out, you could say the large company purchased the smaller ones. Then cancel for call off, continue for carry on, discover for find out. So instead of using these two word verbs, you can simply use all these one verb only. Okay, let's go to the next feature. So aside from observing formality in your language, you should also have objectivity in your language. Objectivity means that the focus of the information is on the topic. So make sure that we are focused on the topic rather than the writer itself. Because many times there are writers, then when they talk about something in their writing, they tend to talk about themselves instead of talking about the topic. Okay? For example, when you and your boyfriend or your girlfriend are quarreling about an issue of you, sometimes instead of talking about the problem, you begin talking about yourselves, about your personal issues, about your insecurities, and not addressing the topic or the problem at hand. So, when writing an academic text, you should avoid that. You should be objective. You should always seek for objectivity, meaning you focus on the information about the topic. And again, written language should not be personal, but rather general, objective. Okay, let's dig in further. We can achieve objectivity by first, first, avoiding the use of personal pronouns such as you, I, my, and we. As we have said a while ago, in writing an academic text, we should follow the third person point of view. And all these pronouns fall under the first person point of view. Therefore, we cannot use that. So, a poor example here is you need to follow instructions. So, you see there, the pronoun used is you. So, in the improved version, you would see instead of using you, it is changed into third person, meaning we're not talking about yourself and we're not talking about the person you're talking to, but someone else. And we replace it with the researchers need to follow instructions. Is that clear? So again, for us to achieve objectivity in our writing, we should avoid using personal pronouns or pronouns that refer to yourself. Okay? Okay, another technique in achieving objectivity is this. Is this? Wait a minute. Yeah. Is this. Avoiding rhetorical questions because academic writing should not assume that the readers does know the answer in the statement, and the author should express the information strongly and clearly. So when we try to write academic texts to achieve objectivity, you should not leave rhetorical questions, meaning you should not leave questions hanging because we are trying to inform readers in our academic writing, and we don't want them to answer the questions because as the writers, we are the ones to supplement or to give the information needed. So instead of writing in your essay this, how can these problems be solved? So you're asking your audience or your readers, you should put it like this: certain procedures must be discovered to solve problems. So you're no longer asking them a question, you are giving the answer. Okay? So instead of asking them, how do you think these problems can be solved? And then you answer it. That certain procedures must be discovered to solve the problems. Okay? Finally, to achieve objectivity, we should avoid emotive language. Emotive from the word emotions, meaning these are words that we use that show emotion that also show biases. I believe you all know biases, especially those who are K-pop fans. When we speak of biases, guys, it simply means that these are something that we favor, something that we agree on. Okay? So, in writing academic text, you guys should avoid using emotive languages or emotional languages which show your bias. Okay? Because as a writer, we should be objective. We should be focused on the topic and not focus on what we believe or what we want. Okay? So, a poor example of this is this: the police were shocked to see the outcome of the test. So, we're shocked here is an emotive language that shows the emotions of the police. So, instead of writing we're shocked, you can simply write the police did not expect. So, maybe they were still shocked, but it's no longer emotive. Okay? It's of less emotion. It's more objective. So, the police investigators did not expect the results. Okay? Third one, the third feature of language that we should observe in writing academic text is explicitness. A while ago, when we defined explicit, we said explicit means direct to the point. So explicitness means being direct to the point. In academic writing, explicitness demands the use of signposts that allow the readers to trace the relationship in the parts of the study. So when we say use of signposts, it simply means that as a writer, you should be clear in discussing the topic. So these signposts are like clues, word clues that the readers will follow for them to better understand your writing. Okay? If you intend to show a change in your line of argument, make it clear using however. Meaning, guys, when you write something, you should use signposts or simply words which are clues to your readers to better understand your text. And if ever you would need to change your topic, you should use clue words as well, signpost. For example, however, look at this. In this sample text, it is said here, it is apparent that the school institutions hope to provide quality education to the learners. In Tagalog, alam naman natin na gusto ng mga eskwelahan na magbigay ng magandang quality ng education sa mga nag-aaral. Now, the writer here used however to show the change of topic. So, after talking about the goal of the education institutions to provide quality education to learners, the writer changed the topic to COVID, saying, however, having this COVID-19 pandemic requires of a lot of effort to reach out students. So, from the topic of the school institutions, then we go to COVID-19 and the efforts to reach out to students. So, however, here is an example of a signpost or a word clue that helps the reader better understand the text. Okay, let's look at examples here. So, in here, there are example phrases or words that may be used in making your ideas explicit. So, let's read this one. A number of Meralco consumers trooped to the city hall to claim a 500 pesos cash incentive. This is due to the Supreme Court ruling that overcharges must be returned to the end users whose electric consumption for the April and May period was below 100 kilowatts per hour. So, in here, the writer used this is due to or due to the. So in here, it is used as a signpost or a marker for the reader to better understand the message. So, the message initially was a number of Meralco consumers trooped. Marami daw consumers ng Meralco ang pumunta sa City Hall to claim their 500 pesos in cash incentive. And to explain that further, this is due to, meaning this is because of the Supreme Court ruling that overcharges and so on. Okay? Same goes with the others. So we have here this resulted in. So those are markers. Similarly, in addition, for example, so those are signposts or simply words that we use to make our writing more understandable, more comprehensible for our readers. Okay? And finally, the last feature of language we should observe in writing academic text is caution. If you would try to recall, there were many instances that you have met the word caution. For example, when you're passing by a road and then there is construction in the road and you would see a signage there saying caution. So caution means be careful. Okay, so in academic writing, caution simply means the same. You should be careful in writing. So for you to make your academic writing effective, you should practice caution. You should be careful. So caution in academic writing requires care. It requires care. Since knowledge is built on proven theories and concepts, caution is needed to avoid sweeping generalizations. So simply put, guys, since we're writing an academic text, a text that is being used in schools, you should make sure that what you put in your text are based on proven theories or concepts, meaning they are factual. So, you should avoid making sweeping generalization. When we say sweeping generalizations, these are general sentences or general conclusions that we do. For example, when you say government officials are corrupt, it may be true, but it is also a sweeping generalization, meaning it can't be proven. Yes, there may be government officials which are corrupt, but not all of them are corrupt. Okay? So it is not safe to say that government officials are corrupt. Because again, not all government officials are corrupt. So instead of saying that, you can use this. Some government officials may be corrupt. So we use here some, meaning that we are only talking about a few government officials. And then we also used here the word may. In Tagalog, maaaring. Maaari. So, we are able to express our thought that there are government officials who are corrupt, but we did not generalize all of them. Okay, so there is caution. Okay, another improved version of this statement is this. Corruption is commonly linked to some key government officials. So we use here commonly. So corruption is commonly, meaning it's normally related to government officials. And then we also use some here to point out that we are not generalizing all politicians or government officials to be corrupt, but only some. Okay? So again, for us to achieve caution, we should not make sweeping generalizations. We should not make a hasty conclusion. Okay? Now let's go to the types of writing styles. So there are different styles or techniques in writing, and every writer usually has a unique way of writing, a unique style or technique of writing. So it says here, there there are four main types of writing or styles of writing. We have expository, descriptive, persuasive, and narrative. All of these are very easy to understand, guys. Each of these writing styles is used for a specific purpose. A single text may include more than one writing style. It simply means, guys, that when you're writing an academic text, you may use only one of these. You may use expository alone, descriptive alone, persuasive alone, or narrative alone, or you can include more than one writing style. So you may begin your writing with expository, and then in the body you can use narrative, and then in the conclusion you could use persuasive. So that is what we mean by this, that there are different kinds of writing or styles of writing, and it is your option as the writer to use only one or a combination of these writing styles. So let's begin with the first one. The first one is the expository writing. It's the expository writing style. Expository from the root word expose. So what you do in the expository writing is you are trying to explain a concept, imparting information to the audience. It is not subjective, but rather focuses on facts. It focuses on facts that are supported by evidence. Meaning to say, as I have said a while ago, in writing expository, you simply expose facts about the topic. Okay? Meaning, guys, you just simply supply a lot of factual information about the topic. Nothing about you, nothing subjective, nothing about your personal biases. It's all about the facts about the topic. So, samples of expository writings are these. We have textbooks, articles, recipes, news stories, business, technical, or scientific writing. You would notice, guys, that all of these writings are simply explaining information, are simply giving information about the topic. Sample, a textbook. Of course, textbook only contains information about the subject. Articles, same, explaining the topic of the article. Recipe, only explaining the process of cooking. News stories, or news, or balita. So, there are no biases in making news. That's why in 24 Oras they say, walang kinikilingan, walang kinoprotektahan. So, it's purely objective, expository, exposing facts only. And of course, technical, business, and scientific writing, they're all purely facts. And then we have another technique that is the descriptive writing. If in the expository, what you do is you supply factual information, in the descriptive writing, from the word describe, what you do is you paint a picture of a person, a place, or a thing through words. Okay, so here you are trying to make the reader imagine what you're talking about. You're describing something or someone, and then you try to make the readers imagine what you are talking about. It is often found in fiction, of course, when we read short stories, novels, books, or novelettes. Of course, they use descriptive writing because the writer wants us to imagine the characters. So usually it is used in fiction, but it can also be used in academic writing or in non-fiction. So some of writings, academic writings or non-fiction writings which use descriptive writing are memoirs, first-hand accounts or biographies, for example, or autobiographies rather, events and travel guides. So all those use descriptive writing. Of course, if you want to make a travel guide about a certain destination that you went to, you would make or you would want your readers to really imagine how beautiful the experience was. So descriptive writing is really the style you should use. Okay? The third writing style that you could use is the persuasive writing. A while ago in our definition terms, we said that persuasion or persuade means convince. So when we try to make an academic text using persuasive writing, what we do is we try to convince the readers to believe in what we are saying. So in this main, okay, so in the main, it is the main style of writing you will use in academic papers. When an author writes in a persuasive style, he or she is trying to convince the reader of a position or a belief. Meaning you're trying to convince your readers to believe in you, to trust in your judgment. Persuasive writing contains the writer's opinions and biases. A while ago, I told you that when writing academic text, you should avoid bringing out your biases or your personal judgments. But if you're writing an academic text using persuasive writing, then you can now give your personal opinions or your biases. Okay? As long as you will be able to provide enough evidences to support your bias. Example, you will be asked to write about same-sex marriage. If you want to be objective, you should not write there your opinions based on your feelings alone. For example, the topic is same-sex marriage, and then you are gay, and then you would say, I am in favor of same-sex marriage because I am gay and I want to be happy. That is a very inobjective way of writing, because you cannot convince people to believe in you if you will just talk about your personal feelings. So instead of making that to convince your readers, you can give other factual informations. For example, um, I am in favor of same-sex marriage because the Philippines is failing the marriages it approves, and we need an alternative family that could take care that could foster children who are orphans. So instead of saying that you are in favor of same-sex marriage because you are gay and you want to be happy, you could say that you believe that same-sex marriage will allow individuals, even though of the same gender, to take care of foster children or children who are from broken families or children who are orphaned without parents. So that is one way of better convincing your readers about your argument. Although it's your personal opinion, it is still objective because you have enough justifications of what you are believing in. Also, it is said here that persuasive writing is also called as argumentative essay because you argue with your readers. You try to make them believe of what you are saying. And most common examples of persuasive writings are cover letters, op-eds, editorial newspapers. If you would read editorials, you would see there that the writer is trying to express his or her belief about a certain social issue supported by evidences. Okay? So those are examples of persuasive writing. Of course, advertisements. Advertisements are made to persuade us consumers to buy their products. And then finally, I think this is the easiest one. We have the last writing style, that is the narrative. Narrative from the word narrate. When you narrate a story, you simply tell a story. So when you're telling a story, you're making a narrative writing. So here, narrative writing is used in almost every longer piece of writing, whether fiction or non-fiction. When an author writes in narrative style, he or she is not just trying to convey information, rather tries to construct and communicate a story with characters, with conflict, and with settings. Okay? Simply put, guys, when you're making a narrative writing, or when you are writing in narrative style, you are simply telling a story. Okay? That's why the examples of narratives here are this. And we all know that those are telling us stories. Okay? So again, there are four writing styles. We have expository from the word expose, meaning you just give facts about the topic. You just give a lot of factual information about it. And then we have descriptive writing, wherein we describe. Simply put, we try to make the readers imagine the person or the place or the thing we talk about. We want to paint a picture in their imagination. And then third, we have persuasive writing, which we use to convince our readers. So here we give our personal opinion, our judgment, our biases, but they are supported by factual information to convince the readers to believe in us. And then finally, we have narrative writing from the word narrate, meaning we tell a story with characters, with conflict, with settings. Okay? So when you write any academic text, you may choose one of these writing styles to use, or you may combine these writing styles to make your academic text more effective. Now, for our activities in What's More, I want you to answer all these activities on your one whole sheet of paper again. So let's begin with independent activity 1, true or false. Directions: write T if the statement is true, otherwise write F. So again, you will only write T and F if it is false. Write your answer on the space before each number. So on your paper, kindly write there independent activity 1, 1 to 5, and then write your answers there according to this. Okay? You just have to identify whether the statement is true or false. Again, write only T if it is true, and write only F if it is false. Next one, independent assessment 1. In here, you are going to identify what is being described in the following statements. Write your answer on the space before each number. Guys, please, in this activity, make sure that you observe correct spelling. You may go back to the previous pages of the modules to ensure that your spelling is correct. Again, observe correct spelling. Okay? So, this is only identification. So, 1 to 10. Kindly write on your one whole sheet of paper, independent assessment 1. Write 1 to 10, and then write in there the words being described by these statements. Please use correct spelling. For our independent activity 2, directions, read the text carefully, fill in the matrix below with the features of academic writing. So, there are two sample texts here. This is sample text 1, the effects of technology on our world. So, just read the whole essay. And then sample text 2, then read the whole essay. And then we have another here, sample text 3. I thought it was only 2, but there are 3 sample texts. Write only read rather this whole text. So after reading the 3 sample text, proceed to this matrix, this table, and then identify these features of language. So for sample text 1, sample text 2, sample text 3, you have to identify what is the purpose. What is the purpose of sample text 1? Is it to persuade? Is it to inform? Is it to tell a story? And then language. Second one is language. What's the language used in sample text 1, sample text 2, sample text 3? Who do you think is the audience of sample text 1? Do you think it's for students? It's for teachers? It's for a parent? It's for a doctor, okay? And then, what is the tone? Is it formal? Is it informal? And then I want you to explain. Why do you think it's formal or not? Okay? And then, what is the style in writing? Is it using persuasive? Is it using expository? Is it using narrative or descriptive? Okay? If you have questions, kindly send me a personal message. And then here we have independent assessment 2. So here, all you have to do is to differentiate the language used or differentiate rather the academic text versus non-academic text. So in here guys, you are going to write the difference. So what makes academic text unique? Put it here. And then what makes the non-academic text unique? And then of course in the middle you should write there similarities. Okay? What makes them similar? So draw on your one whole sheet of paper the two circles and then label them academic text and non-academic text. Okay? And then let's go to independent activity 3. Independent activity 3, directions from the given scenarios below, choose one and write a sample academic text that best suit to the scene. Following the given rubrics, write your answer on the space provided. So on your one whole sheet of paper again, you would write one academic text that you think will be appropriate for one of these scenes. So let's explain what every scene we have here. So scene 1 here, it says Mario is about to go to school, then suddenly he felt dizzy and wasn't able to get up, so his mother just asked him to take a rest and said that she will just send a letter to his advisor. So for this scene, what do you think is the best academic text that you could write for this scene? So Mario is sick, and then his mother tells him not to go to school and just rest, and then that the mother will just send a letter to his advisor. So what could be the academic text which we can write about this scene? So maybe an excuse letter. So you can write an excuse letter for that. Or maybe you could choose scene 2. In scene 2, teacher Jessica is planning to have a culminating activity for her sections in English subject, but she needs to ask first permission to her school head. So in this scene, a teacher named Jessica is planning to make a culminating activity for her students. But in order to do that, she needs to ask for the permission of the school head. So maybe a request letter could be made for this. And then scene 3, the advisor of Joseph asked them to write an essay about the pandemic that they are experiencing. So in here, maybe you can write an essay or an expository essay about the COVID-19 that Joseph and his classmates are experiencing. So again, for independent assess activity 3, you will just choose one of these 3 scenes and then write what do you think is the best academic text for this for one of these scenes. Again, write the whole academic text. So for the letters, you may follow this format. This one. So if you're thinking of writing an excuse letter or a request letter for scene 1 and 2, you could follow this. And if you are trying to write the essay for Joseph, you can follow this format, the essay format. It's up to you whether you would use expository, persuasive, narrative, or descriptive, or the combination of those 4. And then finally, for independent assessment 3, all you have to do is to write a 5-sentence paragraph about what you have learned about this lesson. So it simply is like a generalization. So what have you learned about this lesson? So write 5 sentences about what you have learned. In this, we have here what I have learned. So write on your paper only what I have learned. And then it's also like a generalization about what you have learned. So maybe you could put here your answer in independent assessment 3. You can copy it and write it for this portion. Again, to make our lives easier, you may copy here your answer in independent assessment 3. Copy your answer here because it's the same. It's both generalization. Okay? And then for this activity application, what I can do, write a 5-sentence paragraph explaining the guidelines in academic writing. So here, you're just going to summarize everything that we have discussed in 5 sentences. So, what are the 4 features of language that we should observe when we're writing academic text? What is academic text? Okay, what are the things we should observe in writing academic text? What are the 4 styles in writing academic text? So, you could put those here in 5 sentences only. So, it's very short. Okay, so don't punish yourself too much. Okay, and then finally for our assessment, multiple choice, just write the letter of your answer, 1 to 15. Okay, kindly write on your paper assessment and then 1 to 15, write only the letter of the correct answer. Okay, and then for our last activity, our additional activity, do a little research among your classmates about COVID-19. But since you are not with your classmates, you will be doing a research alone. So do a research alone about COVID-19, about the COVID-19 virus, and write an academic text about it with the purpose of giving information. Again, our purpose here is to give information. Follow the rubric below. So, to give you a heads up, guys, you're going to write an expository paper, meaning you're just going to expose facts about COVID-19. You just have to explain COVID-19. Okay? So research about COVID-19 and explain it in this essay. Okay? Again, if you have questions, guys, feel free to ask me only from 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. Okay? Thank you guys for listening. If you have concerns, you may talk to me. You may go back to them to our video if there are things which are not clear with you. So God bless you on your answering and see you next time.